And we are back here once again with another episode of the Iron Man podcast, episode 289, with the, I would say, divisive, legendary artist, Mike S. Miller. He,
What do you
gets
mean
into some trouble every once in a
divisive?
while.
What are you saying, young man?
Divisive, supports Trump. He's just obviously the worst guy if you go on Twitter.
What makes you think I support Trump?
I would think your shirt has something to say with that, actually. Oh my God. But it's crazy, man.
I wear my beliefs on my sleeve, literally.
It's crazy, man, that if people talk about you on Twitter, people will talk about you as if like you literally went on site and kicked a grandma in the face consistently, just going out and just beating up grandmas. What did you do to people?
Actually? I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, might as well start it off right now, which is, how did you get into, comic books, actually?
Well, 32 years ago, I walked into a WonderCon with a brown bag full of artwork, and I wandered around to different, I went to different, it was my first convention, and I went to different, oh wait, gosh, no, is it my second convention? I think it was my first convention. And I went to, I went to Tom DeFalco and got a portfolio review. He gave me his card. I went to DC and did a portfolio. I did the portfolio review route, and then I went up and I talked to Jeff Johnson, who I had just met like the week earlier at a Bay Area Comics Club meeting, and so he was like the only professional I knew. And I went and I talked to him. He's like, "Hey, why don't you go over to Malibu and ask for Chris Ulm?" Because he already had seen my portfolio. I showed him the week previously. And so I went up to Malibu, asked for Chris Ulm. He was right there. And I said, "Hey, Jeff Johnson wanted me to show you some stuff." So I handed him my brown paper bag, like literally a grocery bag. This was my portfolio at the time. And he looked through it and he's like, "Yeah, this is great. I'll give you some work." And I was like, "What?" So he hands me his card and I get just super stoked. And so I go back and I tell Jeff, and he's sitting next to Dan Panosian. So he's like the second pro I ever met. That following Monday, I was like super excited. So I faxed Chris this picture, which was a blow up from my sketchbook of Colossus. Remember, you don't remember because you're younger than my career. Okay, yes. So back in those days,
Wizard Magazine,
those Wizard Magazine used to have this contest like every month. You could draw characters in the wizard robes, and if they liked it, they would publish it or something like that. I can't remember. So I had drawn this picture of Colossus in my sketchbook in a wizard robe. Inked it with a technical pen because I had no idea how to ink at the time, and sent it in. I faxed that to Chris Ulm, and he calls me back in like 5 minutes, and he's like, "Is this how you ink?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but you said you were gonna give me penciling work." He's like, "Yeah, but we need an inker like right now." And I'm like, "I'm game. Let's go." And so I started inking. I think the first thing he sent me was like Airman or something. I don't know. There was I did so much work for Malibu back then, and they just started dumping because they sent it to me. I inked it. I turned it around super fast because, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. Not that I wasn't. I'm a pretty fast artist, so that's not here or there. But like I was turning around because I was turning around so quick, they would just send me more stuff, and it was like I was just constantly doing stuff, and it was only $40 a page, but I was doing like 4 or 5 pages a day, and I was 20, 21, 22 years old, something like that. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm not going to college anymore. And they had me doing covers for Protectors for the newsstand editions. So that was the first penciling stuff I did, was I don't know, a dozen covers for Protectors. And then my first penciling gig was Cable issue 12 for Marvel. And then from that, I went to Triumph miniseries for DC, and then Wildstorm, blah, blah, blah. Just a bunch of stuff.
So just basically since you were like young, you were in the comic book scene for the most part. Ever since
Well, I started reading comics in third grade.
third grade.
John-
Holy shit.
Yeah, that was the that was the golden age, man. The early 80s, early mid 80s. It was.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Internet.
Miller just wrapped up his Daredevil run.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing, I think, Ronin at the time I got in, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like the golden, and it's the best age of comics, like ever, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I still model my storytelling and my layouts and whatnot more after an 80s. People say it's old fashioned or whatever. I don't give a damn. I think art should serve the story, not the other way around. So I've always had that mentality as an artist working for other writers and as a writer / artist myself. So
okay, because I wanted to ask you this because you apparently can do everything. You can do penciling, inking, art, writing. So what can't you do then? Because you basically can do all the important jobs that you get paid a lot of money for.
I don't have my own printer.
Those cost a lot of money, actually. Oh god.
Yeah. Well, that's beyond my capabilities.
But if you could have your own printer, then
I wouldn't want to.
What?
I don't want to do everything myself. I like delegating. And there's, it's important. It's important to know what you're good at and what other people are better at. Right.
Yeah.
When you're,
that's true.
And you always want to hire people to do the things they're better at than you to produce the best product.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of people don't understand that, man. Like this is something that if you're younger watching this, you would know this. And as I get a little older now, almost on your level, I under this mindset too. Just because you're not good at something, that doesn't mean like if you can't do it, go find someone that can do it. There's no reason you can't do something. If you yourself can't do it, go get someone that can. I had to learn that the hard way. I was like, I thought I could do everything. And no, even the smartest men around them have a team,
Yep. Yeah, there's no, it's like, go build a team with like mind and the same vision, the same goals. And that's how you, really compete in life, basically.
And we know Mike is a little spicy. He's always giving out the hot takes on Twitter. I want to start with this one first because people really know your name from this property. It was Injustice, right? Which is crazy because you've been working on a lot of work for many years, but it really felt like that was what really like propelled you into not stardom, but let people know your name. So do you find it odd that one of your biggest works came from Superman shoving his hand into Joker's heart and killing him?
That's my single most famous image in my entire career. Up till that point, it was my Game of Thrones lithograph because I did the first official Song of Ice and Fire lithograph for George R.R. Martin, and like I showed Gary Nerdrotics, and he's like, that was my screensaver for years. Right. But up until that, and then Superman killing Joker became my most famous image ever. And
so before that, I want to ask,
I don't mind whatever.
So before that, I want to ask you this because I didn't even know, because now I have to know a little more about Injustice, because Injustice was my thing back when I was younger, which is what made them do that story though? Because everyone keeps asking, like, what is their obsession with Superman going evil? So, but that's like the biggest one for people, So, what was the idea and concept around that story to make
it was based on the video game. NetherRealms had the video game,
right?
Warner Brothers, and they want, that's where the game started, was after all of that stuff happened, and they're like, okay, we're gonna do the Injustice comic book, but what we're gonna do is the 5 years prior to the 5-year story arc.
Yeah, 5-year prelude, year 1, year 2.
Takes him from the Clark we all know and love to the dictator in Injustice. So that's what they wanted. And the trigger for that event was Joker convincing Superman that Lois was Doomsday, and so Superman guilty of killing his own wife. Yeah.
That's what people forget is it started as a game because I bought it as a game and then I discovered there was books surrounding it. And so you're the one that caused the whole evil Superman debate. How could you do that?
I just drew it. I can't take credit for the writing. And NetherRealms had already, you know, it was already set in stone.
Yeah.
Right.
They already kind of, you know,
we were funny because they were done. You know, it takes a long time to make a game, and so they were done with the game. And then Tom Taylor had and my editor. Oh, why am I forgetting his name? Jim Chadwick. They had the story for the game, and so they had to go back and tailor. How are you, Taylor? Tom Taylor. They had to get from point A, year 1 to year 5, and figure out all the nooks and crannies and how they got there. And they had the framework, the previous or whatever story points they had for the story Bible leading up to the game, and then Tom had to weave through that. And I think really I think Injustice is probably Tom's best work because he's like George Lucas, where George Lucas, you let him go and he just does really, he's not a good writer director, but control him and he does good stuff. Tom, like off on his own, turns into this crazy SJW, turning everybody gay and whatever.
Turning the friggin' frogs gay.
Under the framework of having to follow the Injustice timeline, I think he did his best work. And I at that time I was considering that Tom would be a Mark Waid level writer because he's probably the second best.
How well did that take aging your mind? Tastes like milk, probably, right?
I mean, look, I knew pretty early on because Tom and I were friends on Facebook. And so like one time I commented on one of his political posts and he goes, "Mike, you and I are never allowed to talk politics." And I go,
"What?"
I go, "Fair enough."
Oh my God.
No, because if somebody wants to draw the boundary on that friendship like that, I get it.
Yeah.
Right. Because like you said, I'm spicy. He's spicy on a whole different side of the spice spectrum. And and so I got that and I respected that boundary. And so that was fine. And then later on he got Trump derangement syndrome and I joined Comicsgate and all that stuff. So I haven't talked to him in a while.
Okay, so we had your early initial career, the bag, the Comic-Cons, the meetups, everything propelled you into DC, Marvel, Injustice, your most iconic image, Superman putting his fist through Joker's heart. That's
hand. Like a hand.
Yes.
And what was rad was in Injustice 2, they did the 3D model of that because in the beginning of Injustice 2 they do the slow frame and they do that and I'm like, that's my hand. They use my drawing to reference that shot.
I know we have NDAs. I will say this. I mean, you probably can't exactly answer this, but anytime Injustice is used ever, they pay you, don't they?
No.
Wait, but there was an Injustice animated movie that came out like in 2021.
Yeah, they didn't even credit me. They used my freaking layouts and they didn't even credit me.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Everyone knows that an Injustice movie that came out in 2021, the animated one, the really, really bad one, straight dog shit movie. They didn't pay you? It's your work.
They didn't pay me because they didn't credit me.
What?
So if you don't credit someone, you don't have to pay them. Yes, it's absolute garbage.
How did you know that going in, or did you find out afterwards?
No, I didn't know that going in. You would expect, but whatever.
And these are people that are in the comic industry that literally lick the boots of these guys. They can't do no wrong. And that's, oh my God. Jeez. I mean, I don't think you want your name on that movie. That movie is terrible. That movie is bad. You want to hear something
funny? I'm under an NDA still because I wrote NetherRealm. Oh, okay. NetherRealms didn't come to me. I had this great idea for Injustice 2. And every time I went to a Chicago Comic-Con, someone from NetherRealms would approach me, hey, I work at NetherRealms. Can I get your poster and blah, blah, blah. And I would pitch them this story idea for Injustice 2. One time, one of the writers came up to me and I pitched him and he's like, "We don't take outside pitches." But after that con,
Mhm,
I got a call from, I think his name's Chris Arendt.
mhm.
He's like the head dude over at NetherRealms, and he's like, somebody told me your pitch for Injustice. He's like, can we hire you to write the Injustice 2 story? And I'm like, yes, you can. So I sat down and I wrote out this freaking, I still think it's great, and I think it's far superior to the Injustice that they used, but mine took place 15 years later, and
Mhm.
for whatever reason, they didn't use it, and I think that they wanted to do something like they did, which was like
Mhm.
later that day, you know. But mine, dude, my story,
Mhm.
they loved it. My manager loved it. I mean, I
Mhm.
was in NDA, so I couldn't show very many people, but I could show my manager. I
Mhm.
showed them, and then nothing. So it's unfortunate that I'm under NDA. I can't even talk about what it is I wrote.
Do you ever think there'll be an Injustice 3?
If there is, I hope they use my story from Injustice 2. They'd have to tweak some stuff, but
I'm just mind baffled
hey,
that they
you don't want me to?
used an
You know
animated
what?
movie without your name
I'll
on it.
I'll tell you the beginning, what I was pitching to
Mhm.
these guys before. So, and because I told many people this before I signed the NDA, so it was already out in
Mhm.
the world. All right, so it's 15 years later.
Mhm.
Bruce Wayne is president of the United States. He's brought he has brought a contrite and repentant Superman to the funeral
Mhm.
of his mother. Right after the funeral, they're standing over Lois's grave, who's buried in the family plot, and they're talking about, how much he misses her, and how everything went wrong, and how you're giving the catch up on how Superman
Mhm.
here is legitimately repentant. And Superman, they're talking about Lois, and Superman says, Lois isn't here. And Batman says, of course not, she's in heaven, or something, like, I can't remember the exact words. And then Superman says, no, Lois isn't here. Heat
Mhm.
blast blows up the
Mhm.
freaking grave,
Mhm.
tears open the casket, and it's
Mhm.
empty. Right? Flash, whatever, fade switch black
Mhm.
over to Ra's al Ghul's castle,
Mhm.
where a 15-year-old boy is in a practicing martial arts with, I think it was Red Hood. I can't remember who I had in the thing, but with another one of the Batman, Ra's al Ghul people. And then Ra's al Ghul comes out and, you know, tells him to stop, or whatever, that he's getting out of hand, and blah blah blah. He's got to control his powers, and he calls him, I forget what he called him, like something L. It's like Cal, not Cal El, obviously.
Mhm.
And then Lois comes out of the dark. I can't remember exactly what the pitch, but Lois comes out of the dark, and they've been living there. And Ra's al Ghul has been raising Superman's son, because she was pregnant when she died, right?
Mhm.
But Ra's al Ghul took their bodies, Lazarus Pit, raised them up, gave birth. He's been raising Superman's son this whole time, and he becomes the villain for Injustice 2.
What goes in your head half the time?
Dude, it was so much fun, and I went through and I put so, like, all the characters, and I can't talk about it. That's all I can talk about.
Yeah,
It was so
that came out
much
of Mike's
fun, though.
brain.
Oh
I
my
was like,
god.
oh god. Oh, I do want to ask you this because now you're more. You would say now you're more indie, right? What was okay? I don't know if you can talk about this because you're all indie up. Okay, so what would make DC or Marvel not hire you at a single point? Was because you had falling out with the artists and the writers over like social media, or did you just kind of like willingly leave yourself? You used to like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, there were two I would suppose I'm blacklisted now because of Comicsgate,
You
but
have to be, yeah.
prior to that, I was blacklisted in 2000 because I was on the DC Comics message board.
Oh my goodness.
And I had just come from I was on Adventures of Superman at the time, and I had just come from San Diego Comic-Con where I was on a panel with Jeff Loeb and some of the other Superman creators. And Jeff Loeb during that Superman panel says that Clark Kent is obviously a Christian, right? He's born in freaking Nebraska. What is it? I can't even remember.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Mike is here, everyone. Don't worry. He's a little bit of a delay because his internet is being used by some of his kids, actually, which happens when they're probably playing Fortnite and stuff like that, actually. Well, hopefully he'll still be back, just like my dad. And maybe my dad will come back.
You back?
Yeah, I'm here.
We're back. All right.
We're black, right?
We're black. I'm yellow. So yeah, he was saying that, and then I came back and I went on the DC Comics message boards and I was like, hey, Jeff said Superman is a Christian, which is awesome. Oh my gosh. People started just hating on me saying that Superman was a Christian. I'm like, this is not me, that's the writer. And then people started saying, oh, you're a Christian, so what do you think about homosexuality? I'm like, I believe the Bible is true. And so after having that conversation, this group of guys called themselves, I kid you not, the GLA, the Gay League of America, that they were doing a letter writing campaign to DC editorial to get me fired. And at the time, Bob Schreck, known open flamboyantly homosexual man, was like Batman group editor, so probably the most powerful guy in editorial at DC at the time. And I'm gonna guess they mailed him because it worked, because I went from being on JLA, I was the fill-in artist on JLA for Brian Hitch. I had a greenlit, this would have been so epic, I had a greenlit 12-issue JLA maxi series that was basically the Guns of Navarone in space. It was going to be DC's Avengers Forever. This was going to be this maxi series. I was so stoked, and suddenly everything dried up.
So you're even saying back in the day,
I was on their flagship title, about to do a flagship maxi series, and I was suddenly persona non grata. But this was DC New York.
Oof. And as you know, your people are crazy. It's what you mentioned earlier. So basically, these guys found out you were a Christian and tried to basically cancel you by writing letters to the DC editor at the time. So you
didn't try.
Oh, yeah.
They succeeded.
So you're even saying that cancel culture in comics was even from back then?
20 years
people act like it's like one of the newest things.
Dixon, same thing. I mean, not with the message boards, but Chuck Dixon got canceled back then too. Probably even earlier than me, I'm sure.
What is with them? Why don't they?
They're SJWs. What do you want? What do you mean?
Why don't they like people with? I always question, like, they literally just want an echo chamber of people to just basically suck them off constantly, literally circle jerk all their freaking weird fetishes and weird ideas for these characters. Like
the easiest way to understand that boils down to truth doesn't fear the lie, but the lie fears the truth.
I like that.
Right. That's how you know the side that's telling the truth, the side that's right and moral and true, is because they're open to discussion, they're open to debate, they're open to people disagreeing with them.
Right.
The side that is not is the side that doesn't want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just find it so crazy that, even then they made sure to get people out that didn't agree with them. And it's like, what? I just don't understand that. Like, if we sat here and we disagreed on everything, I'd be like, it's a pretty cool guy. He might be a little crazy, but he's a pretty cool guy. I'll talk to that guy again. These guys don't want that.
I'm fine with that.
These guys don't want that at all. These guys literally want, hey, I can't say that on YouTube. I can't say
They
those
want to
words.
silence dissenting voices.
Yeah, essentially that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you simply have an opinion on LGBTQ people that's not theirs, oh, you're just Hitler to them. You're just Donald
Yeah.
Trump. They try to get you
Literally.
out.
Literally Hitler.
So after you left the mainstream, you stumbled upon Comicsgate. And I know now you have
Wow, there's a long okay, so I mean you got to get from there. I went independent. I started working with George R.R. Martin on the Hedge of Night series.
Right.
I did 3 of those series. One of them was through Marvel, which was the only Marvel work I'd done since then, because Marvel also had me blacklisted because Marvel and DC at the time they were interchangeable. And then I came back to DC only because they made the foolish mistake of buying Wildstorm, and I was a Wildstorm alum. So all the editorial people that they brought into DC, West Coast DC, that was all Wildstorm people. So I was like, give me some work, guys. And they're like, let's go. And DC New York was probably like, he's on our blacklist. I don't understand how this works.
So basically, as you would say, it was kind of like by luck you were even able to work with DC again, because they ended up buying those characters, right?
Yeah. Well, they bought Wildstorm, and then they closed Wildstorm, but they couldn't fire everybody at Wildstorm, so they brought everybody who was willing to stay up to Los Angeles to work at the Warner Brothers Studios.
Whew. So when did you ever stumble upon like Comicsgate? Because what I remember about Comicsgate is vague stuff throughout the years for the most part, because I wasn't really in, I would say, that kind of group. It was stuff that I was hearing about, watch videos through. I was like, I just never understood what it really was. And someone tried to basically explain to me, like, it's basically Image like it was back in the day. I was like, okay.
No, that's not how Comicsgate started at all.
Like that's how people try to explain to me, but no, I'll have you explain it to me then.
Okay, Comicsgate started as a consumer movement. It was a bunch of YouTubers who were critics of the direction that comic books were going. It was Englentine, Weaponized Nerd Rage, Edwin Boyette, Yellow Flash, that Umbrella guy, your boy Zach.
Right.
I know I'm gonna miss a couple, but like guys like this, and they were criticizing the way Marvel and DC were running the comic book industry, and all of the, everyone has to be, a gay, black, lesbian, whatever. Now it's like, all of this destruction of the hero. I consider it to be the cultural version of, not cultural, but the pop culture version of cultural Marxism. You're tearing down our idols. You're tearing down our statues. You're tearing down our heroes. Literally, in this case, you're tearing down our superheroes to replace them with other thans, right? That's what cultural Marxism is. That's why they tear down all the statues, right? That's why they try to destroy our history. Well, in pop culture, this is how it works. And so, people were getting very upset about that. And that was Comicsgate, and the people that were following that, I don't remember, somebody, they kind of got the name from Gamergate, but I'm not really sure who. Doug Ernst, thank you. Captain Cummings, yes. Eric July, probably too. I don't think he was Comicsgate, but I'm sure he was making the same complaints. And then at some point, Ethan Van Sciver joined.
Your favorite artist, right?
Ethan's terrible.
Had to throw that one in there. I just love Lucky Shot, but sorry, go
ahead. Excuse me. Yeah, it's funny. I'm simul streaming this on my channel, and I never talk about Ethan. So this is gonna be like whoever's watching this. Welcome. So Ethan jumps in there, and like all of them, they're like, hey, we've got a pro in the movement now. And so they kind of like direct attention towards him. So he starts becoming, he starts finding his voice, because before he was just very mellow. I'm just down here and I'm drawing my comic books and I hope you like it, and blah, blah, blah. And interviewing Mark Waid. And
I remember that one. That was my first Comicsgate stream I ever watched, was that one. It popped in my feed. I was like, is he interviewing Mark Waid? They're like polar opposites. Man, he would
No.
never come on now. Holy crap, a
No.
lot has changed
No.
since then. Mhm.
No. And so yeah, then it was your boy Zach decided, after all these guys were talking about oh, you're just a critic, if you think you can do better, then you do better. And
Yeah,
Zach's like,
yeah.
okay, I'll do better. So he hired Kelsey Shannon, and then he hired John Malin, and they did the first Jawbreakers. And Kelsey Shannon was first. For everybody out there, Kelsey Shannon was the first artist in Comicsgate. And so they did Jawbreakers. I can't remember how much Jawbreakers made. It was like, I can't remember. It made hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then Ethan jumped in with Cyberfrog. He made half of $400,000, I think, on his first campaign, or a little over that. I can't remember. Anyways, he ultimately did very well. And then I was on a stream, and I was cordial with Ethan. I wasn't friends with him at the time we started Comicsgate, because he and I have had this very contentious relationship going all the way back to 1996 or 1997 on the AOL message boards.
Good God. Holy AOL message boards. Holy crap. Now I know I'm old. I remember that stuff.
Yeah, it was 96, 97. We would fight on the AOL message boards.
So you basically have kind of been at odds with this guy since like 1990, you said? We're in 2024,
97?
man.
97. Come on, don't age me.
Oh, God.
So we had that contention, and then we'd sort of been cordial to each other in this private group on Facebook for conservative comic creators. I'm not going to talk about it. It's a private group. But yeah, because it's like, oh, we identify with a lot of the same stuff and blah blah blah, and I'll skip that part. And then ultimately, he invited me on his live stream. It was like the one where he crossed $400,000, I think. And he was just so elated. And, I was just there, and I was like, oh, this is, congratulations. I was very excited for him. It's great, right? It was mind blowing. And he's like, Mike, he's like, you have to join Comicsgate. You have to join Comicsgate. And I'm like, okay. So that's why I joined Comicsgate.
What year was that? Do you remember?
I knew very little about it prior to that night, because he didn't invited me into the stream, and I was really, I just really didn't know jack about Comicsgate. I knew because I had been talking to him previously about, he's like telling me that I should get into YouTube and all of this stuff, and he was telling me how much money he was making in super chats and all this stuff, and he's saying he was trying to tell me how to get into the YouTube game. So I started doing some YouTube stuff, and then that's how I ended up on there. And that's how I got into Comicsgate. And I started like the next day, I think I was like, you know what, I'm gonna draw a picture of these Comicsgate guys. It's like me now, I guess, and Ethan. And I had already had a book, and I'd already been working on Lone Star #1, and I had already been planning on crowdfunding it for probably since the previous San Diego Comic-Con, because a friend of mine, Dennis Cacao, he's have you ever heard of the Undress?
I don't think I have. Probably not.
Yeah. So the Undress is this it's a dress a girl can put on. It's got zippers and pockets and stuff, so that like you can go to the beach, you can be in your regular clothes. You put on the undress. You can take off your clothes under the undress and put on your bikini under the undress without anybody seeing anything. And then you take off your dress, or you take off the undress and you're in your bikini, right? So it's like a dress you put on to change your clothes in public. And dude, he'd been crowdfunding these things on Kickstarter and just making like $500,000 at a time, right? Mm-hmm. And so he was teaching me what I needed to do to crowdfund way before Comicsgate was even a twinkle in my eye. And so I was already preparing this, and I was already gathering emails for an email list and all this kind of stuff. And then it kind of got jump started when Ethan, brings me into Comicsgate, and that's kind of how that all happened. So I didn't really know much about Comicsgate, but then I sat down and I was like, I knew Mitch Breitweiser was in it, I knew the Jawbreakers, and I knew Cyberfrog, and then I was gonna add my Lone Star stuff to it, and so I started doing this jam piece, and then Ethan comes on with me, and we're like talking about it and how he's like, oh, you should use this as a poster and sell it to Comicsgate. I'm like, okay, so that's kind of how I got into Comicsgate.
So what's this thing? Because I'll just have you explain it all to me because I'm just trying to learn. There's this cover he went with, or you guys had this argument about this cover. You told him not to go with this, but he ended up doing it. What was that about? And just like my dad,
I don't know if we're still streaming. Are we?
Yeah,
you're like
we are.
completely locked up. I don't know if it's the case on my end or not.
Yeah, I think it might be on your end. I think I'm moving.
Is it my end?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're good now. Yeah, you're good.
I was moving just fine on my end.
Yeah. What the heck? Okay, now you're in like Bizarro World or something.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about the Mike Rowengo cover.
Yeah. Because the one you were bringing up recently on Twitter. So what's this argument? You told him not to use something. He ended up doing it. Or how did that go about?
No, I think that was I don't remember him saying not to do it. I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but the Mike Rowengo thing was, I had a old layout basically by Mike Rowengo that he had thrown out. He was doing layouts for this cover of Spider-Man, and he didn't like this one, so he threw it out. And this art collector, he's like, "Oh, I'll take that," and then he gave it to me. He's like, "Yeah, do finishes on it, and it can be a Mike Rowengo, Mike Miller cover," and which is kind of a normal thing. It's like artists doing finishes on other artists' work. That's typical in comics. It's like, that's why in some comics you'll see pencils and inks like credit, and then some comics you'll see breakdowns and inks, and then sometimes if you'll see breakdowns and finishes, that's when a penciler does much looser pencils to the point of just being breakdowns, and then someone else comes in and does finishes where you take it all those three.
Mike, you must stop drinking. You're looking blurry. Holy crap. Okay, I'll give you that one. Okay, so how did it get to a point where you just have this utter, I won't say disdain for Ethan, but where it's at now, Because there's been many other like campaigns you talked about on Twitter too. So what's this war campaign? For anyone who's new to this stuff, who just doesn't know this stuff, what was the whole big issue with the whole war campaign thing? Everyone keeps bringing up war campaign, broke Comicsgate or something like that. Was it?
There's a few people who are just so new they don't even remember a war campaign. It's okay. So, war campaign was kind of Ethan's Praetorian Guard. They would call him Caesar, and they would march around the Comicsgate videos, saying "Hail Caesar, Hail Caesar," and they considered themselves to be the protectorate of Caesar. And so anyone who disagreed with Ethan or mocked Ethan or whatever, they would go after them guns blazing with some very vile material. I'm a Bible believing born again Christian, so this isn't just the stuff, pornographic and dildo memes and all this kind of stuff that I'm just like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And if this is what Comicsgate is willing to put up with, and quite frankly, Ethan as the leader of Comicsgate, and he can pretend all day long that he wasn't, he was. When he came out and full-throatedly endorsed all of that behavior, I was like, all right, I'm out. So that's why I left Comicsgate.
What year was that, actually?
2019.
2019. So you've been part of Comicsgate for like what, 4 or 5 years at this point? You've been kind of
it's 3 years and change. It was 3.5 years. It was right after San Diego Comic-Con 2019.
When you say that, it sounds like you got out of an abusive relationship. Yeah, I've been out of it for a long time. Just to sit down and start drinking.
Oh, yeah.
God.
So Ethan then decided to destroy me. His words, not mine. For the course of the next 2 years, and that's kind of what killed his channel. I don't want to say it's dead, but Ethan at the time was the fastest growing channel in the nerd culture space. I mean, he was bigger than Geeks and Gamers. He was bigger than Nerdrotic. He was bigger than Yellow Flash, Tug. I don't know how big Eric July was at the time, but Ethan was like the big guy, and he was growing like crazy. You used to be able to just watch his Social Blade, and it was just, and then he turned all of his attention to his attention to destroying me and Doug TenNapel and Edwin Boyette. Is just some, like I said, he was one of the founders of Comicsgate, but he turned on Ethan too, and he actually didn't even really turn. He just left Comicsgate. He left.
Was Doug the guy? Was Doug the guy who was a Christian and he left because he didn't want to deal with like stuff that was gonna be harmful to his religious beliefs? Actually,
okay, yeah, that's kind of the Pride is a Sin thing. So, so that's kind of where the first hitch in the road was June 1st, 2019. I posted Pride is a Sin on Twitter. For the uninitiated, June is Pride Month. And so I thought I'd put Pride is a Sin, as I tend to do on Facebook or whatever. It just sat there for 5 days. Nobody really paid a lot of attention to it, except for the typical people I'd argue with, SJWs and whatnot. And then somehow or another, Ethan got wind of it, and he went on this tweeting tirade, just tearing into me for saying Pride is a Sin and saying I was homophobic and all of this garbage, and homophobic, hateful, stupid, divisive Christian beliefs, which pissed off every conservative Christian in Comicsgate. You just called conservative Christian beliefs stupid and divisive. Okay. Good move. Smart move, Ethan. And so we kind of had this private powwow and and we agreed to do a healing stream, and it was funny because Ethan always loves to say this. He says Mike came in all smug and he's leaning back in his chair with his arms crossed. He says, "You're in quite the pickle, aren't you, Ethan?" And I did say that, but because he stuck himself in that position where he just did he not realize that Comicsgate was a primarily not conservative Christian, but a primarily conservative movement? Conservative, libertarian. These are the people who hate SJWs. These are the people who don't want everyone turning gay, right? That's just what it is. And
so
and I said Pride is a Sin, and he decided that would be a good time to call all the conservative Christians in Comicsgate stupid and divisive.
Because that's the thing. If it's a conservative-driven movement initially, they wouldn't want. Because most of the people like yourself would be a conservative or Republican or whatever. You don't want politics in the books. You just want it to be escapism. No, like the X-Men comic where it's like, Bobby, you're gay. Like, you don't want that stuff in your books. So
yeah.
But Comicsgate is also divisive amongst thought, because the way that it was presented to me, this way it was presented to me by other people, was it was a diverse group of people who wanted to put comics first, but it's all individual thought. But you would be like, that's a later idea that came into the group, right?
No. What I'm saying is that why would I want to be in a movement that would blacklist me for the same reason DC and Marvel would blacklist?
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, true.
Right? Right. Freedom of speech, it was part of this movement. It's like the whole point is like you get to say whatever you get to believe whatever you want to believe. Don't shove your politics. Don't put politics.
He gave you a night letter. He threatened you. He threatened you on Twitter.
Night letters. Yeah. So I mean, that's what happened. And then Doug, it was really after the Pride is a Sin thing. Doug realized, like, he kind of, and this is what he said. I don't want to rehash his whole thing, but he was saying, it's like, I thought this was a group of guys who were going to help me fight the rainbow. Right. And so he's like, if that's not what this is, then I don't want to be a part of it. And I was a little more open to it because I'm a little more libertarian than Doug is. Doug actually hates the word libertarian. But I think people have the right to be idiots. I think they have the right to believe whatever stupid crap they want to believe. That's my libertarian slant on personal morality and all of that stuff. I mean, as long as you're not killing innocent human lives. But you know, the boundary of your freedom is your personal being. You can say whatever you want as long as you're not hurting other people. Doug's more rigorously conservative than I am, so that's what tipped him off, and he's like, well, I don't want to be a part of this then, because all this is not what I signed up for. And so he kind of noped out there. Ethan begged him for a while to come back. He was saying, well, if you're gonna leave, don't badmouth Comicsgate on the way out. And he was begging him to come back and begging him to come back. And ultimately he just left. And then I left, or Edwin left before me, and then I left. And then then he decided to turn his channel into Let's Destroy Doug, Mike, and Edwin, and then his channel growth completely stalled out ever since. He's pretty much got the same number of subscribers now that he did then. Meanwhile,
right?
140, I think it's down to 145 now.
Yeah.
After this week with Yellow
it's
Flash
crazy. He's been doing all these like trash cast streams and stuff, but his numbers, he's been telling people to subscribe. That's what happens with the kind of audience. That kind of audience doesn't update people's channels. That's the worst audience ever. People don't understand that, man. That kind of audience only cares if you hate. It's kind of like the enemy of your enemy is my friend. That's that audience. That's their mindset.
Yeah,
they don't actually care about the
person his audience. The Venn diagram between Comicsgate, Yellow Flash, Young Rippa, Friday Night Titan. That is a very overlapping Venn diagram of fans, right? Geeks and gamers, all of these guys very much overlapped. So when you're targeting other people in shared fandoms, all you're doing is cutting down your support, right? You're not making fans by targeting people who are fans of the people you're targeting, right? That's it's suicide. It's kamikaze pro suicide. It's not a good look, as the SJWs would say.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was that people have this narrative that like Comicsgate, the funding in one of the campaigns saved your house or something. What was that?
Oh, well, yeah, I was going through I was really behind on my mortgage at the time I started getting into Comicsgate. It's a misnomer that it saved my house, but they were paying my bills. I mean, I was paying, it was paying my bills, but the reality is I got a loan modification. That's what saved my house.
Okay. But I will have to say that to the people that are in Comicsgate, like the fans, they do support. It's not like there's a fan base that doesn't support. It just depends on, there might be the hierarchy of fans of creators. They do choose to support one or the other. That's kind of how it is. But, I would never say that they don't support who they like. That is something that is, I think, is awesome about a fan base.
Yeah, the hard part is they'll support who they like, but a lot of them are so dumb they have to be told who to like.
Yeah. Like some of them literally, I'm not trying to be mean here, but some of them sound like literal straight NPCs, like just downloadable bots.
Yeah, they could all fit on the short bus.
Oh, goodness.
And no, I don't mean everyone in Comicsgate. I mean you pathetic EVS simps.
Oh, God, man. But yes, for anyone who's watching, my YouTube channel is Master Swag King. One of your mods, I think Jeff Poss, put the link in the chat. Thank you so much if you're going to subscribe in advance. Not saying you have to, but if you do, thank you. Okay, next thing. You put out a tweet recently. Why does Mike always put me in this spot, man? Oh, God dang it, Mike. Oh, Lord. His tweet basically says, honest question. Knowing the vast majority of Comicsgate consists of nothing but EVF simps who are happy to nuke every other fandom and relationship to defend their frog lord, why do the rest of you continue to claim ownership of this movement? Please, only honest replies. Can't exactly disagree with you on that,
Right?
Like to me.
So here's what you get there. You get either honest replies, or you get EVS simps. Those are the two replies you get in there.
Oh, God. Jeez.
and it's very easy to tell which is which. Right?
Oh, you can tell. The profile pictures. You can tell. I can tell if someone's a he, him, they, them, or all that in their profile pictures or their bios. I can easily tell you're a bot. Like this will like because I know recently you probably heard the story where the HBO guy went out of his way to make fake emails to attack the critics that attacked his show. I'm just saying, how is that not applicable to this movement, though? I'm just saying that it could be a thing. Just saying. I'm not putting.
I don't think it's necessary because he has enough simps to go out there and brigade, and it's really, really funny because back in the early years, Ethan used to lament. He's like, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to get brigaded. It's the worst thing on earth. And that's when.
Oh, don't worry, guys.
So much. He hated it so much. And now he wields that sword like it's his favorite Nerf toy. He loves brigading people because SJW is going to SJW, I guess.
Also, recently, too, Eric July was talking about crowdfunding and stuff like that.
Wait, where did you lose me?
Oh, no, you're right here.
I know, but what was the last thing you heard me say?
No, I heard everything. It was just a little tiny slight delay. Your kids must be playing like Fortnite on some live streams because Jesus Christ, man.
What game are you playing? What game are you playing? Huh? Roblox.
Dang it. Freaking kids these days. Oh, back in the day, if I had a PC like he did, how much like my life would be so much different.
Rainbow.
I had a freaking Game Boy Advance as a kid, and a Game Boy SP, and a Game Boy Color. Good Lord.
Do you know what
this is him. I didn't do anything. Why are you guys blaming the black man? What did I do?
It's always the black man's fault. Hey, you know what my first physical video game console was?
NES or Sega Genesis?
Pong.
Okay, you are definitely in the boomer stages.
I'm 52, dude.
Oh, I was talking to Mike. I'm just under the assumption everything's the black man's fault. Just sorry about that. But yes, for anyone's asking, can we get the link? I just put it in the chat. If any of the mods are there, put it there. Thank you so much. So, looking at everything that's happened so far with like Comicsgate, your time in the mainstream, do you just now prefer just being solely just independent on your own, just being indie at this point now?
What do you mean in regards to comics or what?
Yeah.
Well, I have long-term goals. I don't really want to discuss right now.
It's fine. Mm-hmm.
I'm yeah. So
okay. Oh,
I've got goals. It's got nothing to do with Comicsgate. But I want to put together something important. So I really value the culture war, and I firmly believe, God didn't put us here to make money. He put us here to make a difference. And so,
sure.
And God bless all those guys doing Comicsgate. I know a lot of them, this is like their last hurrah, their retirement, their ability to continue making a living and all that stuff. And that's great. That's not enough for me, for my goals. I actually want to fight the culture war. And I just honestly don't think that selling a couple thousand comics and filling my pockets with money is fighting the culture war.
Because I know you have a project with John De La Rose coming up, the Top Griff book.
Oh, that was a joke. I mean, I did it. It's real, but that was just done as a lark. So it's not like, yeah, that's nothing to do with my longer term goals. But I'll reveal that stuff when I'm further down the road.
Because I actually wanted to ask you about your religion too, because I'll say I don't like Christians or anything like that. I used to go to church myself. Obviously, I respect people's religions and how they do their life. So you've been a Christian since you were a young kid, right? Ever since
I became a Christian in my early 20s.
Okay, so what made you want to convert to Christianity then?
I was raised agnostic. My mom's a Buddhist still.
Holy crap! Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things I was into was like, I don't know how you phrase it, like the stuff on the Y-Files. You watch Y-Files?
No.
Oh, really?
I
It's
probably
you
watched
ever,
Girls Gone Wild as a kid.
you don't know. No, it's a YouTube channel now. It's really good.
Oh, okay.
They cover UFOs and
Mhm.
Bigfoot and blah 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 and
Mhm.
all that kind of, I don't know what you call it, pseudoscience. I don't know, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I love that stuff, UFOs and
Mhm.
blah blah blah, all that stuff. And one of the things that I was into was near death
Mhm.
experiences, right?
Mhm.
And so I was given this book,
Mhm.
and it was, I mean, it was a really weird book, but ultimately it 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 got me to the point where I was like, I prayed what I would consider earnestly for the first time in my life, and I I prayed, Jesus, if you are who you say you are,
Mhm.
prove to me that I'm not the a-hole that I think I am. That was my prayer. And like 20 seconds later, I was it was in a really nice part of San Diego, and 20 seconds
Mhm.
later there was a hitchhiker, and I was like, oh wow, look, here's a selfless thing I can do for another person. I'll pick up this, and it was funny because he was going. It was a half an hour drive for me to get home, and he was going 5 minutes from my house. So it was like, I I I felt, nah, that seems like it might have been an answer. So I prayed again. I don't even remember what the second prayer was, but that again, it was like 30 seconds later. It was like,
At that moment, you would think like
something's going on.
your life fully changed from that moment. You would say, right?
Well, no. That just that like I said, I was an agnostic. I wasn't an atheist. I didn't hate God, and I didn't have like
Mhm.
a bone to pick. I just didn't. I had no. I never thought I had any reason to believe,
Right.
right? And this sort of planted that seed that like maybe there's something more to this than what you're believing. You know what? I posted on Facebook today.
Mhm.
What did I put? What did I put? I should have this memorized. It was so simple that I. Uh, it's gosh darn it. Challenge. What the heck? Did it not post? I don't think it. Dang it! It didn't post. All right, I'll have to do that later. But it's challenge
Mhm.
something you believe today.
Mm.
Be curious. It's like the death knell of growth is the incurious mind, right? It's kind
Mhm.
of paraphrasing something Einstein said, about the universe and everything. It's like if you're not curious, then what are you doing here? It's like
Yeah.
you're a robot going through life, basically. It's like challenge your presuppositions. So
Hi, Gary.
yeah, I got into, hey Gary, what's up, buddy? Uh my a friend of mine, Ben, he started he had previously given me these Chuck Missler tapes on, because he knew I cared about UFOs and stuff. Chuck Missler has this whole thing on the Christian perspective on UFOs. So I started listening to some of that stuff. And then I started listening to some of his other stuff. And he's like, really, I mean, Chuck Missler was like this engineer, which reminded me of my dad. My dad was an engineer too. And so he would get into these like nooks and crannies and like all this scientific and medical foreknowledge and all of this stuff. And then I started reading books on all these crazy claims that the Bible makes, and I'm like, these claims hold water. This book, I mean, after this, I don't even remember how long it was I was doing all of this. But I kind of really like I went down the rabbit hole on the Bible, and I came up thinking, all right, this book, it's got medical, scientific, prophetic foreknowledge. Uh, it's either written by time traveling space aliens determined to fool the world,
Mhm.
or it's written by the author that claims authorship, which would be God. And so I opted with the God one. And I didn't, I mean, I just came to that conclusion. And then my friend Ben comes over one day, and we're talking about it. And I'm like, yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. This book is unique and written. I think it's written by God.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh, that's great. Now you just have to put your faith in Jesus. And I go, I think I already have. And it's funny, me saying it, that was the moment I remember in the whole thing. It was like me voicing, I have put my faith in Christ. That like, because
Mhm.
even the Bible says it's like, believe in your heart and speak with your mouth and you shall be saved. And it's like that was the moment that it came out of my mouth, and that's the moment I remember, that's ingrained in my mind. And then at that point, I'm like, you know what? I should probably read it.
Probably a good idea.
I started reading the Bible, and it was like, as I was going through, I was like, oh gosh, I can't do that anymore, can I? Like,
Are you more of a? I'll ask you this: are you more of a New Testament or an Old Testament guy?
I love the Old Testament. The Old Testament to me is much more fun to read because the stories are so amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, dude. I so want to make the book of Joshua into a movie with giants and dragons and friggin', you know, the destruction of Jericho and everything. Oh man, it'd be such a sick story. But here's the caveat. I want to do it like plot wise, straight out of the Bible, but I want to set it in like Lord of the Rings fantasy setting. Because I hate how people used to dress in reality.
But Amazon has to produce it.
No!
Rings of Power producers.
No, but you go back and you look in history books and like, oh, this is how the Philistines dress, and you're like, bro, get a designer. You guys, come on, this armor is kind of cheesy.
Oh my god, man. Jeez. Oh, so now, so how have you been able to, like, from here on out, most of your life at that point, live by the Bible then? Because you know how, like, people have a problem with, like, actually they have no problem reading it when they get into Christianity, but actually living it. So how have you made adjustments in your life to actually, you know, live by the Bible actually?
Well, that was the thing is, like, as I started reading it, I was, you know, it's like I got to the point where it says always be sober minded. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can't get drunk anymore. You know, I can't, the last time I smoked pot, it was like, probably about a year later. And I smoked pot and I was sitting on the couch and I was just thinking to myself, I'm not 100% in control of my facilities. And that was it. I was like, all right, I'm not doing this anymore because I'm not sober minded. Right. And so I just, as I discovered what God determined was right and wrong, I adjusted my life to that. I'm not perfect. Nobody is, but I do, you know, the best I can. I try to live accordingly. And, you know, sometimes some people don't appreciate that. Sorry, you're not my God.
That is true, you know?
Yeah.
Then what would you think most Christians now fail on? Because, you know, it's like one bad one does something bad, then everyone's in the freaking, you know, human centipede of garbage right there. Now everyone's bad.
That was my exact opinion of like before I became a Christian. Was like, I was thought about, like, you know, oh, the witch trials and the Crusades and blah blah blah. And then what's funny is I started doing a real deep dive on the Crusades, and it's like, bro, the Crusades were freaking legit a defensive war. The Christian side only killed about 1.2 million people. The Muslim side killed 250 million. It's like this was a defensive. I mean, there were 11, 12 Crusades, something like that. And like, okay, one of them was really stupid and just a freaking money grab. I can't remember which one it was, but most of them there was like, yeah, we need to like push back against this encroaching empire that is enslaving and killing and torturing and doing to the Muslims. Literally, the Muslims killed 250 million people before the population of Earth reached 1 billion people. That's how bad the Islamic Empire was, and the Crusades was just the bulwark against that. And like, but you know, growing up in the American school system, Crusades bad because Christians bad, blah blah blah. So I'm like, well, I fell for all that. But yeah, as far as people, dude, we live in America. we live in cultural Christianity. So like, I would say that a lot of people here, they say they're Christians, but they've never cracked a Bible open. They say they're Christians because mom's a Christian, right? Yeah. It's not like China. You go to China, if somebody there says they're a Christian, they're a freaking Christian, because they could go to jail or get killed for saying they're a Christian. Right?
Well, it's also like, not even acknowledging it too. It's just more like, you know, I think that if you say you are this, then something in your action should show that, you know?
Right.
That's the problem that I've always had with religious people in general. It's not that I hate them for the religion or anything. It's more like, if you're going to say you're this, your life should reflect that. I imagine most gods want you to reflect what, you know, is said in their Bibles, actually, you know?
Yeah. What was it? Einstein or Mark Twain or something said that it's not Christ I have a problem with, it's his followers.
Man, that guy has such timeless quotes. Honestly, those quotes have all aged so well, man. Oh my god!
But like legitimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the religion is. You don't base it on the followers because nobody's going to follow something perfectly. You base it on the founder, right? So your opinion of Christianity should be perfect. Christianity would be people that follow Jesus's example. The people who don't follow Jesus' example are bad examples of Christianity.
Yes.
Right. Same thing with Islam. The people who are the best Muslims are the ones who are following the warlord pedophile who started Islam.
Oh God, this guy's so spicy. Trying to always get me in trouble, man. Good Lord. Well, because who forget the basic meaning of being a Christian, which is being Christ-like. So just by that simple definition for anyone.
Little Christ,
yeah. And it's just, I've seen people say they're all this and this, not just my town alone. There's a lot of churches in my town. People say they're this, but the women go and do some very inappropriate stuff on the weekends, and on Sunday they get on their knees, and probably been on their knees previous other days before Sunday. Actually, we'll say.
I have terrible internet, I guess. Okay,
you were saying. Oh, sorry. Like, you know how like women or people will be like, yeah, I'm this and this, God this, but like on Friday, Saturday, they'll be at the clubs partying, girls be getting on their knees and stuff, then they'll be getting on their knees for their pastor. Good Lord. Gotta love it.
You can't be a 1 day a week Christian. That's I think
honestly, someone told me that. Yeah, someone told me that. 1 day a week Christian. I remember that. Yeah.
I think that's psychologically like incredibly damaging. I know a lot of people, like most of the people I've met in my life who are bipolar, I could classify them as people who have had 1 foot in the church and 1 foot in the world. Like they're trying to divide their life up between following Christ and hitting the clubs and doing the things, and it's like, and then they end up on lithium.
Oh gosh, man. Well, looking at everything that has happened, because everyone knows you're a dad. So how have you enjoyed being a dad throughout all these many years?
I love being a dad. I can't wait to be a grandpa.
Oh, good Lord. Dan, you're gonna have gray hair. Good Lord. Then like when your grandkid gets to be like 5, like you could literally say, back in my day.
I say that now.
Oh my God. Freaking grandkids gonna have like an iPad.
I was born in 1971, sir. We've been off the gold standard as long as I have been alive.
1971. That means you were around when Top Gun came out. What the heck?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I saw Top Gun in theaters. What do you know about?
That means you were around when Star Wars dropped.
I saw Star Wars in theaters. Yeah.
So you've lived through like most of the pop culture fandom events, comic books. You saw like the rise of Image. Comic book boom.
I was working at Image in the rise of Image.
Oof, God, you were around for the Star Wars.
I was the inker on Freak Force for 12 issues.
So okay, so what haven't you lived through in the nerd fandom then? You've been through like everything essentially from like the non-digital age all the way up till now. That's crazy to think about, actually.
Yeah, it's true. God. I don't know. I don't know what to.
You're just a giant fossil, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm just an old man.
Okay, so I'll ask you this. What is a common thing people have member berries about comic books back in the day that they try to like make it sound like it's a lot better now? Because people always make it sound like everything about comics was good back in your time period. But I can't imagine everything was good. There's no way. There had to have been some bad.
I mean, that's typical. I mean, most 80%. It's what's the ratio? Like 80% of everything is crap and 20% is good. And then like 2% is excellent.
Anyone in chat older than Mike? Probably not. I'll be 30 this year. My back's already starting to give out. Ugh.
Even that old man story time with friends is a year younger than me.
God, man.
Look at that gray-haired fox, silver-haired fox in the chat. Yeah, he's even a year younger than me. But I would say that, like I was saying, in the 80s you had a lot of the great stuff, but in the 90s people try to elevate the 90s as this awesome time, and it's like it really wasn't. There's so much, and I hate it because it was a very successful time, and it was the time I broke into comics, but there was so much money in comics that they were just hiring anybody that could hold a pencil. That's how I broke in. I could hold a pencil, and there was so much money in comics. They were just jamming stuff out, and I think it took it from the 80% crap up to 95% crap, right? And you had a few standouts, but I think Image produced just a whole bunch of pretty unreadable garbage.
That's what I keep hearing about it. So people wanted to defect to get away from the mainstream. They want to go do their own thing, but they'd hire like their college buddies to write the stories while they did the art.
You're talking about Jim Lee. That's what he did. That is exactly what he did.
So you were at Image. That's crazy to think about. Holy God.
The problem with the problem with a lot of artists is they aren't writers. Gosh, I don't know how to phrase this. It's not so much that they aren't writers. It's that they don't even know what good writing is. So they can't judge when they're hiring a writer how good that writer is. Right? So they might hire someone who's just as bad a writer as they are. And so you're producing unreadable crap either way you slice it, even if you're like, okay, I can't write, so I'm going to hire my college buddy. I'm not saying whatever, he can take it however he wants, but I'm gonna hire my high school friend or somebody who we used to talk about comics back in the day, and he's gonna write it. And it's like, dude, I know how to freaking tell a story either. Doesn't know anything about characterization or story beats or anything, and here you are. But you're just not drawing it.
Like, that's what everyone kept saying. Like, the art is really good, but the stories are crap. And that's something that I want to bring up too. This is gonna be spicy. My own little spicy take is: do you know how like now people are combing through like Eric's comic book, right, and going through like all the story beats and everything? Do you know what I've noticed? Why don't people in that movement do that for their friends' books? No one does that for their friends' books. All I hear is the so like personal book Indiegogo campaign. They get backers to buy it. They get the book fulfilled. But you never hear about the story. All I hear is like, oh, the art's good. Okay, that's awesome. But what's the story about? None of them ever talk about their stories ever. I probably maybe met like two people.
Nobody's what's your favorite part in Cyberfrog, right?
Nobody says what's your favorite part of Cash Grab and Glorious Rex. I'm not taking shots. I'm saying that why are we only doing that for Eric's book? Because people will
because it's not a good, how do I say this? It's classless to be a professional and criticize other professionals publicly. So I'm doing it to Ethan right now just as a little payback because he did it to Eric and Cliff Richards, which, look, I have my issues with that story. I think, I'm not going to go do a freaking teardown. I only do critiques, and most professionals will only do critiques of people who request the critique. True. Right? We're not critics. We're professionals, and there's a professional courtesy that you don't go backstab other professionals by tearing down their work in public. But Ethan doesn't give a rip about that stuff because he'd rather tear down Eric July than hold up to professional standards.
Yeah, that's my thing is if we're going to start doing that, then why don't we do that for everyone else's book then? Because
we're professionals, dude.
Well, the model that the fans are using, other people in the movement are using is like, well, Eric can't take criticism and all that stuff, right? Well, then if you guys want your creators to get better, you guys should be talking about the books then. What's good in those stories then? I don't like I said before, the story you said before, the creators, a little bit of etiquette to not do that. Which I agree with. It's just then the fans that keep saying these books are quality, none of the fans talk about these books. I have not heard one of these fans say what's their favorite part about any of these books. Any of them. List any of them.
Do you ever watch Well Read User?
I don't think so.
Well Read Comics?
No.
All right. Well, he does a regular critique show where he'll bring on a handful of fans who have read certain books. He's done mine. He's done Ethan's. He's done a bunch of different books, and they do a little powwow critique session, and it's pretty no holds barred. So that's a good, if you want critique on projects, go check out Well Read. I can't believe I'm shouting him out. I usually just give him crap, but Gary Shipman in the chat says, I request that Mike not.
Mike is so mean. He would just tear you down, be like, this character sucks. Burn it.
I did. We used to do a little Cobra Kai critique session on my channel, and it was like people who volunteered to have their stuff critiqued could send it in to me, and I would rip it to shreds.
Oh God.
And it was a lot of fun, and people years later thanked me for it because it made them look. That's what I needed. It was a quantum leap, because I had been told all my life, just like most of these artists out there, I've been told all my life from grade school up through college.
Yeah,
you're the best artist here. You're the best. Oh, you're just the best. And then so you get that in your freaking stupid little adolescent brain, and you get all arrogant about your art, and you think you don't need to listen to critique from anybody. I met a guy, and that was kind of the thing. It's like, well, I need to meet somebody better than me in order to critique me. And I met this guy, Neil Lamb, and he was a life drawing teacher, and he was a phenomenal illustrator. And I'm like, would you critique my stuff? He ripped me. I needed Vaseline. He ripped me a new one so hard. And it was great, right? Finally, somebody who can look at my art, pick apart everything wrong. And so I worked with him, and I would send him my stuff, and back and forth and back and forth. And it wasn't until I kind of got to the point with him where he's critiquing how I draw Knuckles that I'm like, all right, I'm getting somewhere here. If you're nitpicking my Knuckles.
That is good. God, what a madman. What an absolute animal. Because that's the thing that on my panel shows, when I have other people talking about indie comics and stuff like that, the same thing you just said right there, that mindset of like everyone's telling each other's good. I don't know if you've seen these guys' conversation. I've had a lot on my shows, not saying they're bad guys, but everyone keeps telling them then their stuff is good. And then they always wonder, like, well, why is my stuff not selling on these crowdfunding campaigns? Well, just be honest here, guys. Not every one of your single things is good.
To you.
Yeah. It's literally impossible. Just by the sheer amount of media we have on this planet, that everything is good. There's no way on this earth everyone's stuff is good. So one of two things are true. Either it's not very good, the fans are lying to you, but they'll throw you some money because they just like you as a person. I think it's more like the fans like them as people than like their actual work.
One caveat on that. Most fans don't know what is good. They only know what they like.
That's true.
And that's fair, right? I don't personally think Todd McFarlane is very good, but I know he's got a million fans that like it. So that's not the same. It's not the same angle to attack the problem from. Right. I know Ethan's not good, but he's got thousands of fans who disagree with me. So that's fine. They like his stuff, but they don't know what is good and what isn't.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, is like you have all these creators always jerking each other off saying, no, your stuff is really good. I can't believe you haven't made no sales in your campaign, but your art is really good. It's like, are we still supposed to gaslight each other? Like, is that's what this is?
That's really what it is, man. You can't. Truth hurts, you know?
Yeah, it does.
I will say.
And people told me I was not white, I was black. You know, my life broke down, because I'm joking. But
put your arm up to the camera.
You guys,
my daughter's boyfriend is black, and I swear I'm as dark as he is.
she gonna start wearing a do-rag, talking about drinking great Kool-Aid or something. That happens.
She's not, oddly enough.
You're telling me she dated a black guy and there's not stereotypes associated with her? Crazy. CNN must have been lying to me.
Yeah.
But as we wind down, a few things more, I'll ask you and we'll head out because I know it's getting late for you over there. It's just that's what I've noticed in this man, not just Iron Nation stuff. It's like everyone keeps telling each other their stuff is good. So at that point, no one can improve. So you're telling me that everyone's stuff is so good. So by that logic, you can't improve. So your stuff is so good. And it's like we get in this, like, I don't know what it is, honestly. It's what you called it earlier. It's just a circle jerk of people just lying to each other because they're, afraid to hear the truth.
Well, they're being nice, and you can't be nice in critique.
It's true.
Right. critique is criticism. You have to criticize, and criticism is never nice. I mean, you can.
I've been
When
wanting
you're
to
doing-
mention that.
When you're look, when someone comes up and does a portfolio review, you can start by pointing out the stuff they do well, sort of to soften the blow. But unless you get into the harsh, painful
Kitty.
truths, no one is going to learn, right? That's just the fact. So yeah,
That was a cat.
that was a cat. That
You got-
cat's name is Max.
Do you have a dog? Oh, do you have like any other animals? Do you have dogs?
I have 2 cats. You want one?
Me, no. That's a lot of pussy. I got enough women in my life. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking, everybody. Oh Lord, jeez.
My
And you have
cat opens my window all the time, and so I have to use a sword to close.
You use a sword. Oh, okay, anyone breaks in your house, they're getting like Rurouni Kenshin or something. Holy God! Oh my Lord! Are you like Raishao Ghul or something?
Samurai. I got a katana right here too.
Oh my Lord! Good God, man's insane.
And just in case those fail, I get my nunchucks.
Oof. So now Mike is claiming he's a light-skinned black guy. I guess just everything at this point now.
A katana. Yes, that's my katana.
Katana. Oof. All right. So last things I'll ask is, you got any
Would you like to swing on a
you got any
star?
plans for 2024 for your like YouTube channel or anything?
I have
in the comic
goals.
realm? Goals, yes.
I'm not intent on growing my YouTube channel. Actually, I really only do my Wednesday show so I can hang out with my friends that I've made over the few years. And it's like, yes, you can have friends over the internet. I know it's a weird foreign concept, but yeah, I don't have to press the flesh with somebody to consider them my friends. And I like hanging out with them on Wednesdays. It kind of like takes that time out of the night or my week to actually reconnect with the fans that want to hang out. We do a live drawing show every Wednesday, drawn and quartered on Blacklist Universe. You can come check it out. And that's what we do. So, but if I wanted to, YouTubing is a job, right? Unless you're doing it just for fun, like I'm doing. I don't know what your plan is with yours, but I mean, I had a political channel before, and because I understand the algorithm and how to make clickbait and blah blah blah. Dude, I got that thing up to 14,000 subscribers in about 2 weeks. So if I wanted to continue to build, I have a secondary channel I was doing stuff like that on, but again, it takes time out of your day because it's a job. You have to do it. You have to do it every day. You have to do it. You have to be dedicated. You have to find the right topics. You have to, it's a job.
Yeah, same thing.
And
that's not my first.
I don't
YouTube
want that
channel,
to be
actually.
my job.
I like the same thing with you. I had a bigger first channel. I got taken down because hate speech, YouTube's BS. So that's actually my second channel rebranded.
About
right?
January 6th and stuff.
Mine was about Looney Tunes. So that's actually my second channel right there. So yeah, I told people before, I know how to grow a channel, but it just, as you said before, it takes massive dedication to make sure you're constantly uploading videos. Because people don't understand this, dude. Unless you're doing some really well documented, really crafted, edited video, you need to upload pretty consistently to be in the algorithm to push your videos.
Yeah.
And
you have to maintain whatever the idiom of your channel is. That's what you have to maintain. You deviate outside of it, you fall off the algorithm. You miss a day, you fall off the algorithm. It's all it locks you in to this job, and I don't want that to be my job. So happy to be here, happy to hang out, happy to do interviews with guys like you. But
you talk to a black man? What?
I know. And I'm gonna ruin my racism.
Oh God!
I forgot. I gotta get rid of my daughter's boyfriend too.
Oh gosh, jeez. Don't worry, I'll help you. You gotta get the black ass out of here. No, I'm just kidding. So, last thing I'll ask is, looking at your whole career, everything you have at this point, think it's all been worth it?
I mean, I don't know what worth it means. I'm blessed with where I am. I believe every step I've taken has led me here. right?
Mhm.
And I love my life. I have 5 awesome kids.
You have 5
Beautiful,
kids.
beautiful wife. 1 cat I love. 1 cat I really want to kick into traffic. But got a roof over my head.
Yeah.
I'm blessed, dude. I'm way more
Yeah.
blessed than I need to be, or far more blessed than I deserve to be.
Mhm.
And Donald Trump's going to win the next election. And
He
I mean,
needs
what else
to.
could you want?
Hey,
Absolutely.
Vivek. That's the thing. Vivek dropped out. And Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley think they're gonna win. That is peak delusion.
Yeah.
The people that
Yeah.
had less votes than Vivek think they're about to win. It's fucked up. I don't even hate Ron. I think Ron's a pretty cool guy, but like he doesn't have the pull right now to win. There's no way, man.
What's even the point? Why are
Yeah.
they even trying?
They're literally wasting their donors' money. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just wasting money.
It's like trying to empty a swimming pool with a freaking teacup. It's like,
oh god, that's actually hell. That is, oh lord.
While it's raining.
Oh, and the last thing is any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular? Anything else you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, I want to shout out Gary Shipman in the chat. Thanks for hanging out, Gary. Yeah, the Drawn and Quartered crew, the guys that come by my show every Wednesday. Everybody, if you want to come hang out, you could check out my comic here, LoneStarComic.com. Third last chance campaign on the 3rd issue. You can get all of them. You can get my entire library if you want. Anything else? Squid Grow.
I can go to your website.
If you're into cryptocurrency, go get some Squid Grow.
Also, your website. Really last quick thing. I can go to your website right now and I can buy anything from that you've ever put out, essentially. Outside of like
LoneStarComic.com. Yeah, it has my entire library.
Okay,
the
awesome.
Last tier on the bottom.
So that's the thing that people need to understand. Outside of the crowdfunding stuff like that, man, if the people have a big enough name draw, like you've mentioned, why don't they make a website to drive the traffic to their website? I've never understood that.
I don't know. This is the Lone Star Comic is actually on. It just redirects to Fund My Comic, where I have a campaign.
Oh, for anyone asking about the channel, yeah, just copy and paste that link I put in the live chat and you can find me and subscribe. So thank you so much. Awesome talking to Mike for the first time. He kind of blew me out the first time. I was like, who are you? Talk to me. I got stuff going on. But like it was like, I'm talking to a black man. What the heck? But it's been awesome talking to Mike, someone who's did one of my more infamously liked sources. I actually like Injustice. I don't care. It's
a really well written book. I was happy to
I'll say so myself, I did the artwork for it.
Well, no, I mean, I was just glad to be a part of it because it's that book, my entire 30 years in comics, dude. And that's the one book where people come up to me at cons and say, this is the book that got me into comics. And that's what I want. I want to get people into comics, right? That's why this whole retarded argument that YouTubers shouldn't make comics is the dumbest thing I've ever heard come out of anybody's mouth, because these YouTubers are reaching entirely new audiences. Just a handful of guys on Friday Night Tights, if you add up they have millions of fans, and the Venn diagram isn't a complete crossover, so it's not just all the same guys. They've got millions of fans subscribed. They can reach more people than are currently buying comic books in America.
It's true.
And convert some percentage of them into comic book fans. Who in their right mind doesn't want that? If you care about comics, who wouldn't want that? Unless you're a petty,
I agree,
spite-filled, angry, big-nosed fat man.
No, I agree, man. It's the thing that I've always asked, why can't they though? What is this like? Oh, I have a disdain for someone who it's so crazy. Yeah, jealousy, it's all just semantics. It's all semantics. Wait, why can't they be a creator? Why can't a YouTuber be a it's really all it is. Or competition. Envy. It's the same thing that Amaranth put out about
it's not. No. Wait, hold on. It's not competition because even Eric July, who's produced 3 books in a year, that's only 3 books. If he's bringing more people into comics, their natural inclination isn't, I'm going to wait another 4 months to buy another Eric July book. They're going to be like, what else is cool?
Yeah.
Right? And
I agree.
If someone's cool with Eric might go, well, why don't you go check out Robotoad.
Oh, sorry. No, I was agreeing with you. It was just like I don't
Yeah.
understand why people say that YouTubers can't do it. Either they're scared of
It's all out
competition.
envy, man. That's all out of envy. They see people doing much better than they are, and they want to tear them down just out of envy. Envy
and
spite.
jealousy will kill a man. I will say that myself.
It is of the devil.
Oh, thank you guys for coming out, hanging out tonight. And if you guys watch the replay and you're like, what happened to Mike's internet? He has dial-up or something. I have no clue what happened. But
I got two kids playing Roblox over here. They're sucking up all my bandwidth.
God, burn their computers down.
Now what are you playing? Now he's playing Rainbow Six.
That's actually a good game. I like the game. Well, everyone, see you guys
I played
later.
the first one.
Did you like CSGO?
I didn't play it. I'm just saying I played when I used to work at Ion Storm, and we got first Rainbow Six, and we used to all just play in the office. It was so much fun, just yelling.
I would just tell people, don't listen to someone when they're going to tell you can't do it. I don't, but there's bigger YouTubers. Okay, if someone told you to go jump up a bridge, you doing that too? Like, what are we doing here? You know, I just don't get it. It's either they're scared of the competition this person could bring them because they want to be the only guy doing it, or they legitimately actually, I don't know. It's something that people do, man, where you have a friend and you are afraid that they're going to surpass you. So you start just getting in their ear, whispering a bunch of like crap to their ear to doubt them so they don't do it because you want to get surpassed. I hate people, man. I hate it.
People can be a problem.
Well, everyone, we'll see you guys later. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.